steering towards the supreme. Udara sarva eviti janani tav atmaiva me matam ashita sa hi yuktatma mam avatnuttam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and the most perfect goal. Here, Krishna is saying that all the men who come to him, whether they be distressed, in need of money, curious, etc., are welcomed. But out of them, the person who is in knowledge is very dear to him. The others are welcome because it is understood that in course of time, if they continue on the path of God, they will become as good as the man of knowledge. Generally, however, it so happens when one goes to church for profit and the money doesn't come, he concludes that approaching God is nonsense and he gives up all the connections with church. That is danger of approaching God with ul- ulterior motives. For instance, during World War II, it was reported that many wives of the German soldiers went to the church to pray for their husband's safe return. But when they found their husband had been killed in battle, they came as atheistic. Thus, we want God to become our order supplier, and when He does not supply our order, we say that there is no God. That is the effect of praying for material things. In this connection, there is a story of a little boy, about 5 years old, named Dhruv, who belonged to a royal family. In the course of time, his father, the king, tired of his wife and disposed her as his queen. He, he then took another woman as queen, and she became stepmother of the boy. She was very envious of Dhruv, and one day, as Dhruv was sitting on the king father's knee, she insulted him. Oh, you cannot sit on the lap of your father, she said, because you are not born of me. She dragged Dhruv from his father's lap, and the boy became very angry. He was the son of Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas are notorious for their quick tempers. Dhruv took this to be a great insult, and he went to his mother, who had been deposed.
Harishita Mataji. ओके ट्विंकल माता जी आप रीड करेंगे.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी.
Dear mother, he said, my stepmother has insulted me by dragging me from my father's lap. Dear son, my mother replied, what can I do? I am helpless and your father no longer cares for me. Well, how I can take revenge? The boy asked. My dear boy, you are helpless. Only if God helps you, can you take revenge. Oh, where is God? Dhruv asked enthusiastically. I understand so many Sikhs go to the jungle and forest to see God. The mother replied, they undergo great panics and austerities in order to find God there. At once, Dhruv went to the forest and began asking the tiger and the elephant, "Oh, are you God? Are you God?" In this way, he was questioning all the animals. Seeing Dhruv was very much in inquisitive. Sri Krishna sent Narad Muni to see about the situation. Narad quickly went to the forest and found Dhruv. "My dear boy," Narad said, "you belong to the royal family. You cannot suffer all this uh, pinax and austerity. Please return to your home. Your mother and father are very much anxious for you."
Okay. Vanshika Mataji, you can read.
Please don't try to divert me in that way, the boy said. If you know something about God, or if you know how can I see God, please tell me. Otherwise, go away and don't disturb me. When Narada saw that Dhruva was so determined, he initiated him as a disciple and gave him the mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dhruva chanted this mantra and became perfect, and God came before him. My dear Dhruva, what do you want? You can take from me everything, whatever you want. My dear Lord, the boy replied, I was undergoing such severe penances simply for my father's kingdom and land. But now I have seen you. Even the great sages and saints cannot see you. What is my profit? I left my home to find merely some scraps of glass and rubbish, and instead I have found a very valuable diamond. Now I am satisfied. I have no need to ask anything for you, anything of you. Thus, even though one may be poverty stricken or in distress, if he goes to God with the same determination as Dhruva, intent on seeing God and taking his benediction, if he happens to see God, he will no longer want anything material. He comes to understand that foolishness of material possessions, and he puts the illusion aside for the real thing. When one becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, like Dhruva Maharaj, he becomes fully satisfied and doesn't want anything.
The Gyani, the wise man, knows that material things are flickering. He also knows that there are three aspects that complicate all material gain. One wants profit from his work, one wants adoration from others because of his riches, and one wants fame of his wealth because of his wealth. In any case, he knows that all of these apply but to the body, and that when the body is finished, they also gone. When the body dies, one is no longer a rich man but a spirit soul, and according to his work, he has to enter another body. The Gita says that a wise man is not bewildered by this, for he knows what is what. Why then should he bother himself in attaining material wealth? His attitude is, I have an eternal connection with Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Now let me establish that relationship firmly so that Krishna will take me back to his kingdom. The cosmic situation is giving us all facility to re-establish this relationship with Krishna and return to Godhead. This should be our mission in life. Everything we need is supplied by God: land, grain, fruits, milk, shelter, and clothing. We only have to live peacefully and cultivate Krishna consciousness. That should be our mission in life. We should therefore be satisfied with what God has supplied in the form of food, shelter, defense, and sex, and should not want more and more and more. The best type of civilization is one that ascribes of the maxim of plain living and high thinking. It is not possible to manufacture food or sex in a factory. These and whatever else we require are supplied by God. Our business is to take advantage of these things and become God conscious.
Although God has given us all facilities to live peacefully on this earth, cultivate Krishna consciousness, and finally to come to Him, in this age we are all unfortunate. We are short lived, and there are so many peoples without food, shelter, married life, or defense from the onslaughts of nature. This is due to the influence of the age of Kali. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing the dreadful situation in this age, emphasized the absolute necessity for cultivating spiritual life. And how should we do it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the formula. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Kevalam Kalav Nasdeva 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 Gatiranyatha. Just always chant Hare Krishna, never mind whether you are in a factory or in a hill, in a shack or in a skyscraper. It doesn't matter. Just go on chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no expense, there is no impediment, there is no caste, there is no creed, there is no color. Anyone can do it. Just chant and hear. Somehow or other, if one comes into the contact of Krishna consciousness and executes the process under the guidance of the bona fide guide, he is sure to go back to God.
बहुनां ज्ञानमानमन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेव सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः. After many births and death, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. Me knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is such a great and soul is very rare. Gita 7.19. Philosophical research into the science of God has to be prosecuted for many births. God realization is very easy, but at the same time it is very difficult. It is easy for those who accept Krishna's word as truth, but those who try to understand through research work by dint of advancement of knowledge have to create their faith after finishing so much research work, and this process takes many births. There are different types of transcendentalists called Tattvavid who know the absolute truth. The transcendentalist call the absolute truth that in which there is no duality. In the absolute truth, there is no duality. Everything is on the same level. One who knows this in truth is called Tattvavid. Krishna proclaims that the absolute truth is known in the three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The impersonal Brahman effulgence, the localized supersoul, and the supreme personality of Godhead. Thus, there are three angles from which one may envision this absolute truth. One may view a mountain from a great distance and thus perceive it from one angle of vision. As he comes closer, he may see the trees and foliage of the mountain, and if he begins to climb the mountain, he will find so much variegatedness in the trees, plants, and animals. The objective is the same, but due to different angles of vision, sages have different conception of the absolute truth. Another example there is sunshine, the sun disk, and the sun god. One who is the sunshine cannot claim that he is on the sun itself, and one who is situated in the sun is, from the point of view of vision, better situated. The sunshine may be compared to the all-pervasive Brahmajyoti effulgence. The localized sun disk may be compared to the localized aspect of the Supersoul, and the sun god who resides in the sun may be compared to the personality of Godhead. As on this earth planet we have a multi-variety of living entities, we can understand from Vedic literatures that in the sun also there is a variety of living entities, but their bodies are made of fire, just as ours are made of earth.
In material nature, there are five gross elements: earth, water, fire, and air, and space. In different planets, there are different atmospheres due to one of these five elements prevailing, and there are different bodies of the for the living entities composed of whatever element may be predominant in a particular planet. We should not think that all planets have the same quality of life. Yet there is uniformity in the sense that these five elements are present in some form or other. Thus, on some planets, earth is prominent, fire is prominent, and water is prominent, and air and space are prominent. We should not think that, therefore, that just because the planet is not composed primarily of earth, or because atmosphere does not duplicate us duplicate ours, that there is no life on these planets. Vedic literatures give us information that there are countless planets filled with living entities with different types of bodies. As by making some material adjustment, we try to qualify to enter into different material planets. By qualification, we can enter into spiritual planet where the Supreme Lord resides. Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pritrin Yanti Pitri Vrata Bhutani Yanti Vushet Bhutejya Yanti Maryagino Mipam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors, and those who worship me will live with me.
Those who are trying to enter higher planets can go there, and those who are trying to qualify to enter into Golok Vrindavan, the planet of Krishna, can also enter there by the presence of Krishna consciousness. Before going to India, we may acquire a description of what the country is like. Hearing about a place is the first experience. Similarly, if we want to get information about the planet where God lives, we have to hear. We cannot immediately make an experiment and go there. That is not possible. But we have so many descriptions of the supreme planet in the Vedic literature. For instance, the Brahma Samhita states, Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu surabhir apalayantam Lakshmi sahasra satashambho sevyamanam Govindamadi purusham tamuham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, fulfilling all desires in a abode built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or gopis. There are also detailed descriptions given specifically in the Brahman Samhita.
Those who are trying to realize the absolute truth are categorized according to the aspect of the absolute truth on which they concentrate. Those who concentrate on Brahma, the impersonalists, are called Brahmavadis. Generally, those who are trying to realize the absolute truth, first of all, realize the Brahmajyoti. Those who concentrate on the supersoul, the localized form of the God in the heart, called Paramatma, and also are known as Paramatmavadis. The Supreme Lord, and by his plenary portion, is sitting in everyone's heart, and by meditation or concentration one can perceive this form. Not only is he within everyone's heart, but he is situated within every atom of the creation. This Paramatma realization is the second stage. The third stage and the last stage of realization is Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because there are three main stages of realization, supreme absolute truth is not attained in one birth. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. If one is fortunate, he can achieve the ultimate in the second, but generally it takes many years and many births to realize what God is. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvanam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of the spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly knows this engaged is my devotional service and worship me with all the hearts.
The Vedanta Sutra also confirms that the absolute truth is He from whom everything is born. If we truly believe that Krishna is the origin of everything and if we worship Him, our whole account is closed in 1 second. But if one doesn't believe and says, "Oh, I want to see what God is," he has to go by stages by realizing the impersonal Brahman effulgence and then Paramatma, the localized feature, before finally coming to the last stage of realizing, "Oh, here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead." It should be understood, however, that this process takes more time. When one when one through many years of research comes to realize the absolute truth, he concludes Vasudev Sarvam Iti. Vasudev is all that is. Vasudev is a name for Krishna, and it means he who lives everywhere. Realizing that Vasudev is the root of everything. Mam prapatyate, he surrenders. The surrendering process is the ultimate goal. Either one does it immediately or after many births of research work. In either case, surrender must be there by realizing that God is great and I am his subordinate. Understanding this, the wise man will surrender immediately and not wait to take many years, many births. He understands that this information is given by the Supreme Lord out of his infinite mercy on the conditioned soul. Here, all conditioned soul, suffering the threefold miseries of this material world. Now, the Supreme Lord is giving us the opportunity to escape these miseries by the surrender by the surrendering process.
At this point, one may ask that if the Supreme Personality is the ultimate goal and one has to surrender to Him, why are there so many different processes of worship in the world? This question is answered in the next verse. कामस्तैस्तैरृता ज्ञाना प्रपद्यन्ते अन्य देवताः तं तं नियमम् आस्थाय प्रकृतिया नियत्य नित्या स्वया. Those Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender to demigods and follow particular rules and regulations of the worship according to their own natures. There are many different types of men in the world, and they are functioning under the different modes of material nature. Generally speaking, most men are not after liberation. If they take to spirituality, they wish to gain something spiritual power. It is not uncommon in India for a person to go to Swami and say, Swamiji, could you please give me medicine? I am suffering from this disease. He think that because a doctor is too expensive, he can go to a Swami who can work miracles. In India, there are Swamis who go to people's house and preach. If you give me some 1 ounce of gold, I will make into 100 ounces of gold. The people think I have 5 ounces of gold. Let me give it to him, and I will get 500 ounces. In this way, the Swamis collect all gold in the village, and after collecting it, he vanishes. This is our disease. When we go to a Swami or temple or a church, our hearts are filled with material desires, wanting some material profit out of spiritual life. We practice yoga just to keep our health fit, but stay healthy, uh, in order to keep healthy, why take shelter of yoga? We can become healthy through regular exercises and regular diet. Why resort yoga? Because kama is taistir rita jnana. We have the material desire to keep ourselves fit and to enjoy life by going to church and making God our order supplier.
Having material desires, men worship various demigods. They have no idea how to get out of matter. They want to utilize the material world to the best of its capacity. For instance, in Vedic literature, there are so many recommendations. If one wants to cure his disease, he worships the sun. Or if a girl wants a good husband, he worships Lord Shiva. Or if one wants to become beautiful, he worships such and such god. Or if one wants to become educated, he worships goddess Saraswati. In this way, Westerners often think that Hindus are polytheistic because actually this worship is not to God but to demigods. We should not think that demigods are God. God is one, but there are demigods who are living entities just like us. The difference is that they have a considerable amount of power. On this earth, there may be a king or a president or a dictator. These are men like us, but they have some extraordinary power. And in order to get favors from them, to take advantage of their power, we worship them in one way or another. But the Bhagavad Gita condemns worship of the demigods. This verse clearly states that people worship the demigods due to calm, material desire, material lust. This material life is based on lust. We want to enjoy this world, and we love this material world because we want to gratify our senses. This lust is a poverty reflection of our love of God. In our original constitution, we are made to love God, but because we have forgotten God, we love matter. Love is there. Either we love matter or we love God, but in no case can we get out of this loving propensity. Indeed, we often see that when one doesn't have children, he loves cat or dog, a cat or a dog. Why? Because we want and need to love something. In the absence of reality, we put our faith and love in cats and dogs. Love is always there because it is distorted in the form of lust. When this lust is baffled, we become angry, and when we become angry, we become illusion. And when we are illusioned, we are doomed. This is the process that is going on, but we have to reverse this process and turn lust into love. If we love God, we love everything. But if we do not love God, it is not possible to love anything. You may think that it is love, but it is simply a glamorized form of lust. So those who have become dogs of lust are said to have lost all good sense. Kamastes tair rita jnana.
There are many rules and regulations for the worship of demigods in the scriptures, and one may question why the Vedic literatures recommend their worship. There is necessity. Those who are motivated by lust want the opportunity to love something, and the demigods are acknowledged as the officers of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that as one worships these demigods, he gradually develop Krishna consciousness. But if one is completely atheistic and disobedient and rebellious against any authority, what hope is there? So one's obedience to a higher personality can start with the demigods. If, however, he take directly to worship the Supreme Lord, worship of demigods is not necessary. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly show all respect to the demigods, but they do not need to worship them because they know that the supreme authority behind the demigods is the supreme personality of Godhead, and they are engaged in the worshipping him. In any case, respect is still there. A devotee of of the Lord shows respect even to an ant. What to speak of the demigods? The devotee is aware that all living entities are parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and that they are playing different roles only.
In relation to the Supreme Lord, all beings are to be respected. Therefore, a devotee refers to others as Prabhu, meaning my dear sir, my dear Lord. Submissiveness is a qualification for a devotee of the Lord. Devotees are kind and obedient, and they have all good qualifications. In conclusion, if one becomes a devotee of the Lord, all good qualifications will automatically develop. By nature, the living entity is perfect, but due to the contamination of lust, he becomes vicious. That which is part and parcel of gold is also gold, and whatever is part and parcel of the complete perfect is also perfect. Om Parnam Adha Parnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete because he is completely perfect. All emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as a complete whole. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in him itself, because he is the complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance as stated in Sri Isha Upanishad invocation. Due to the contamination of matter, the perfect living entity falls down, but this process of Krishna consciousness will again make him perfect. Through it, he can become truly happy, and after leaving the material body, enter into the kingdom where there is eternal life, bliss, and full knowledge.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.